And gentlemen, thank you for joining us on today's show. This is VCTV, and you're with me, Terrence. Before we start the show, it's going to be an interesting show. We're going to talk a little bit on factory farming and agri-tech, and we're going to see what gets around the ecosystem, and we try to bring up lots of things. And today on the panel, you see our investors, the people involved in the business, and also those who are currently engaged with some of the companies out there. So, again, for all of you viewing out there, if you want to join us on the show, you have the opportunity to come on. You have the opportunity to even pitch your idea as well. Do get in touch with us. There's many ways to do it. Links are below. You can speak directly to the investors. You can get in touch with me, and we can start to plug you into the show as well. And just a little bit more housekeeping before we start the show. From wherever you are, from wherever channels that you're watching us, do just bookmark, like us, encourage us, give us some comments, tell us what you think, what we can improve on the show, and we'll try to incorporate it in. So, without further ado, I'm going to start by introducing the panel itself. I'm going to go around and have them introduce themselves. We'll start with William. William, tell us about yourself and the companies that you represent.
Thanks, Terrence. Hi, good evening all. My name is William Du. Today I'm representing Agros Group. Agros Group is a vertical farm that started a few months ago in Kuala Lumpur. As you can see from my virtual background, this is the shot taken at around noon today. So we have been harvesting this is the third harvest already. Okay, so the container actually set foot in KL. Okay, on 6th of November, and in just less than exactly 2 months time, we have our third harvest. Okay, so yeah, I look forward to share with you the exciting adventures that I have been on for the last 3 months.
All right, great. Thank you, William, and welcome on the show. Happy New Year as well. Tusha, over to you.
Thank you, Terence, for having me on the show again, and great to be a part of this panel with Gary and William and Carol in the background. So my name is Tushar Kansal. I run two companies. One is Consultancy Ventures and the other one is Saffron First. Saffron First is an angel network oblique fund with around 38 high net worth individuals. We invest across technology, agri-tech, space tech, food tech, AIML, health tech, and so on. Consultancy Ventures is a investment bank which helps startups and growth stage companies in mergers and acquisitions, debt, and venture capital. Happy to be here. My background has been in Deloitte and Touche, India's largest venture capital fund, Brand Capital, and I've also raised $2.5 billion of debt for MTS India, the Systema's, the Russian company Systema's India unit, and have been CFO with DLI, that's a company owned by Guggenheim Partners. So happy to be on this show today.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that introduction, Tusha, and welcome on the show as well. And Happy New Year if I didn't wish you yet. Gary, over to you. For those who don't know who you are, Gary.
I don't know who I am. Come on. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield is a comic from a long time ago. I get no respect. Anyhow, my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 17 companies. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. I actually co-founded Eva, the award-winning AI HR tech company with a billionaire from Russia, David Yang, who now lives in Silicon Valley. And also I was on the original management team of Click Software, an Israeli company that we took to an IPO and then sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. And I was the senior vice president of marketing and business development at that time, named the company, et cetera, came up with the product family. So love artificial intelligence. I'm also currently the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We curate AI companies from around the world and help them go global, using Silicon Valley as support. So I'm an investor, I'm an entrepreneur, and the whole idea is, helping companies go from being a regional player to dominating their space on a global basis. So that's where we are. I write a lot. I've written 107 articles in the last year, mostly about artificial intelligence. But my next one coming out in Forbes is about AI and quantum computing.
Right. I think we saw that as well, Gary. And thank you for all that contribution. I'm sure some of your readers and your fans are also on the show today. But again, I think those who are focusing on this show today have that direct interest either within the ecosystem or just contributing to the ecosystem. So kind of let's give them something to kind of look forward to and talk about as well. So I think just to kind of start off, we want to talk about basically factory farming and then moving towards agritech and then moving towards what's next. I mean, you see in the news today, there's lots of issues with growing demographies, scarcity of food, there's climate change, and then there's one part of the world there's food waste. So there's people starving and there's people wasting food. So there's a number of global trends going on. And that's kind of putting a dent in this overall sustainability of the whole agriculture system. So I think it's just that we kind of talk about the current state of the whole agriculture ecosystem itself. I think, William, let's start with you on this one. Give us a little bit on some of the trends that you see and even maybe talk about the current state of where we are at the moment.
All right, thanks, Terence.
Yep.
Okay, so talk about 4 months ago, we always hear about ESG, we always hear about sustainability, food security, food safety. Okay, so I think for the last 3 to 4 months is a new learning curve for myself. Okay, and we went into the vertical farming. Okay, to actually meet those requirements. Okay. As you mentioned, as Terence mentioned about sustainability, how to ensure that the whole ecosystem, okay, in agriculture, and also the entire delivery from farm to your plate, okay, and where they call it sometimes farm to fork, okay. So how do you ensure that the entire process is well taken care of, okay, to have the right safety and security concerns. So if you look at COVID-19, okay, a lot of issues has cropped up, okay, like Terence mentioned just now. In certain parts of the world, people are dying of hunger, right? In certain part of the world, there's excess, okay? So how do you mitigate this imbalance, okay? So from our perspective, okay, in Malaysia itself, we are actually importing 30% of our fresh produce, okay, be it vegetables or fruits, okay? So without going out, just in Malaysia alone, we want to actually close that gap, okay? And being in a closed environment where you see the virtual background, this is in a 40-footer container, okay? Everything inside here is controlled. And because of that, we do not have any issues of pests, pollution, okay, be it air or be it water. So everything is controlled in here. We even have a water tank in-house, okay? So this is our first project, okay, starting with the container farm. And we just signed on a new lease to start a 3,000 square feet of vertical farm, okay. And we are also looking at building Malaysia's largest in the first half of 2021 by building a 90,000 square feet, okay. So by doing this, we are able to provide to the food chain in Malaysia.
Right. Thanks for that, William. And I think we're going to touch a little bit more on the business and how things are done as well in Malaysia. Tusha, over to you with this one. Tell us a bit about India, perhaps. Talk to us about some of the trends that you see and the current agricultural system at the moment.
So agriculture has been the oldest profession of, in any civilization. In India itself, this whole area around India and within India is very, very fertile land. And 52% of land in India is arable. And more than 50% of India's population is a farmer. So, if I put it in the right perspective, 8% of global population is an Indian farmer. So this particular sector can move governments, can change governments, and it's very, very sensitive to climate change. So, I was reading recently that water has been added as a commodity on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So, this shows the portents of things to come. I mean, this year in the Mekong Delta region, we had droughts, and and the productivity of the farmland was very low. This is a very sensitive sector, and hence there is an opportunity for startups and investors to invest and use technology to bring out better outcomes. Uh, Within India, a lot of action has happened in the last 6 months in this space. So we used to have monopolies of in the form of market produce committees, which has been taken away, and now the farmer is free to sell his produce wherever they want to. Contract farming has been allowed in the country, and there have been an internet-based marketing mechanism called eNAM, which has been created so the farmer can sell the produce on the internet. And the agriculture in India has been prone to a lot of problems like lack of scale, low productivity, and no post-harvest value addition. But given the potential can be gauged from the fact India has more arable land than the US. The US exports $140 billion of agriculture products every year. India exports $39 billion. So this shows why there are 450 agri-tech startups in India as of now, and it's growing at more than 50% every year.
Right. I think I can echo that as well. And Gary, we want to hear from yourself as well in your part of the world. I'm sure we can all agree that the whole agriculture industry is facing several challenges. Can we talk about some of the challenges that you see, which is kind of swooping the states almost?
Yeah, so I mean, look at it, Terrence. The population of the world is quadrupled in the last 100 years. So we've gone to 2 billion to about 8.1 billion people on the planet. So think about how much less potable water, how much less land we have. At the same time, I was involved in a weather startup many years ago, and I happened to have the pleasure of working with a 80-year-old professor who was actually a student of Einstein at Princeton, Dr. Irving Crick, one of the foremost private weather forecasters in the world. So I spent about 9 months with him. And we talked about what kind of impact. Think about since about 1880, the temperature in the world has gone up 1 degree centigrade. Well, we say that that's not that much, but if we look at it, the kind of impact in a place like Florida could be with the polar ice caps melting and temperatures rising, that the sea levels could go up to 2 feet, right? Above sea level, 2 feet. That's enough. So if you look at it, that's enough to basically take most of the coastlines of all of the coastlines of Florida and submerge them. Cities like Miami may no longer be on the map. And we're experiencing this all over the world. One thing Dr. Crick told me, he said that when the Gulf Stream slows down because of the warming trends, the food supply starts to change. And he said, the other thing he said, when it snows, and I believe Einstein also said it, when it snows in the UK, right? And if you look recently, we had snow. Why? Because the Gulf Stream warms up the UK. So we've got a lot of challenges out there. Not to say that we can't address them. And look at the beauty of it. So in India, for the first time in the last 30 years, you've been able to see the Himalayan mountains. So we understand that we can have an impact. This pandemic on one side has dramatically shifted the way we live our lives. At the same time, it's given us hope because we understand that, by not driving around and by not polluting and harming the planet, we're able to cleanse it. It's cleansing itself. So that's where the hope comes. And then at the same time, look at the electric cars that are coming on, electric farm tractors, et cetera. Look how it's changing things. So in terms of where I see it, in terms of we've got technologies out there today that we need to go down through really to understand some trends. So what kind of trends do I see? So driverless tractors, we're working with a group that's got driverless tractors. So what are tractors going to look like in the future? Well, they're going to be able to be deployed. They're going to be smaller than they are today, and they're going to be able to work in swarms. Drones. So farmers, you know, if you look at it, farming's really been a non, for the most part, right? We've changed a lot with corporate farms over the last 50 years, but for the most part, you know, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was a farm boy. Right? We had cows, we had chickens, we had pigs. You know, you go out and detassel the corn. But now look at it, drones. So they're not just pricey toys anymore. Farmers are using drones with sensors and digital imaging technology. And as they're soaring over the land, they're getting a detailed picture of the fields to be able to understand what needs to be, what, where, and how it needs to be done, so they can add the herbicide or fertilizer, that kind of thing. And these images can also show farmers where they've overgrown areas of crops, right? And where it's thinning out, et cetera. So a view of what's happening on their farm, which they've never had before. So using GPS or other systems to be able to understand where that machine needs to be exactly on that farm at what particular time. So crop editing, and I've written an article recently in Forbes about gene splitting, well, gene editing of crops. By adding some genes and removing some, you'll be able to turn on specific traits. So you want a tomato that's larger, that's sweeter. You know, we have the ability to be able to engineer those kind of technologies. Then the other thing is the ability to be able to breed crops with traits like, you know, they're not, so some people are hyper allergic to particular food groups. Imagine being able to take those out. Imagine being able to change the disease resistance. And of course, blockchain, right? So blockchain is the security of the security and the ability for food safety in particular.
Yeah. I think you're right with that, Gary. You're right in terms of disrupting the whole system itself. Now that is possible with new technology, and we have seen the advent of sensors, drones, and so on and so forth. And I think this question to you, William, since you are also involved in a business and you are in that control environment, talk to us a bit about some of the technologies that are now being mainstreamed at the moment.
Okay, our farm is built on a very simple principle. Okay, the technology is an enabler. So we focus on how to produce the best vegetable with the best taste. Okay, and of course with the best nutrition. Okay, so if you talk about technology, of course you can see in the background we have the most advanced LED. Okay, developed in China, which is used worldwide now. Okay, they have a joint venture in the US as well. They're listed in China. If you look at the container or the white color that house our vegetables, okay, that's food grade material, okay, and the nutrient that goes into the system, okay, from our two control tanks at the back of the container, okay, that is organic nutrient, okay, that goes through the system, okay. So, and if you look at the entire control environment, okay, so we, like Gary mentioned just now, is blockchain. So blockchain play an important role. We have already started on that. Okay, so all the data, all the temperature, humidity, everything is recorded because we want to learn. Okay, using what kind of mixture of nutrient, combining the amount of lights, okay, and the temperature will produce what kind of results. All right. So for the first, the last 3 months, okay, we estimated that our first harvest will be in 5 weeks. Okay, but because we try our best, okay, because we are learning along the way as well, we try to give more, okay, and in fact, it turns out that within with just 3.5 weeks, we are able to have a full first harvest already. Okay, in fact, if we follow our so-called research, it's supposed to be 5 weeks, and that 1.5 weeks of saving per harvest will translate to probably 10 times, you see 1.5 weeks, okay, savings, okay. So, and because of the control environment, we do not need to use any pesticide or any precaution on all this, because everything, okay, is taken care of. Okay, so the technology behind it, I will probably I'll need my CTO to share with you in the next show. But from the business perspective, okay, from our long-term perspective, we want to make sure that all our produce are of highest quality, okay, that with the highest possible nutrient mix, and also we need to meet the market demand. Okay, so in Malaysia we import a lot of vegetables, especially if you look at kale and if you look at fruits. Okay, so one of our key crops will be kale, all right, that goes into most of the dishes. Okay, another one is microgreens. So in Malaysia, if you don't have that control environment, you can't go into big scale farming. Okay, certain crops are not suitable in our climate. Okay, that's why in Malaysia we have Cameron Highlands. Okay, but the problem with Cameron Highlands for the last few days is the entire, almost most of the state, okay, is flooded. Okay, so there's landslides. Okay, there's potholes all over the place. So there goes the distribution system, right? So doing vertical farm, we solve that issues of inconsistency due to weather, due to floods. Okay, and we want to be near to urban. That's why our first farm is actually in Mines. Okay, actually 15 kilometers away from the Twin Towers. Okay, and we are next to a North-South highway. Okay, so here we have, if we go south 3 hours, we can reach Singapore. If we go north 3 hours, we can reach Penang. So along the way, we can actually serve a lot of population with our produce. Okay, so
yeah. That's great, actually. That's great news, and that shows that technology is definitely disrupting the whole system. So that's basically agriculture 4.0 for you. Tusha, over to you. There has been a lot of buzz in the whole Agritech space in India as well. Could you tell us more about it, Tusha?
Yeah, so there has been a focus in on removing middlemen, so removing the intermediaries and connecting the farm to families directly. So in the agronomy space, which is the doorstep delivery, we have a lot of action happening. It's around a $15 billion sector. The startup which has come up there is called AgroStar, which is doing quite well. The other one is the farms to consumer. It works like a consumer brand. It's the largest component of Agritech, and it's related to outputs and market linkages. Ninja Cart and Clover are two companies here which are doing quite well. Ninja Cart is a tech-driven supply chain platform, and Clover is a greenhouse-grown farm produce which is channeled to consumers via B2C or B2B channels. Then third is precision agriculture. It's not the full stack solution, but specific tech intervention. So we have, it's around a $10 billion sector. Fasal is a company which is an AI powered SaaS platform for horticulture, which is one company which is doing quite well here. And the fourth is life sciences, basically power and capabilities of big data and data science, like alternate proteins. Coming to specifics, I have seen agritech startups in demand-led cultivation, in managed farm networks, in some unique ones, like there was a startup which converts floral waste into charcoal-free luxury incense products, and these incense products are actually used a lot in temples out here. Then there are B2B marketplaces. There is rural fintech, very important rural fintech. I take the example of Jack Ma, who had used technology to such an extent that he captured 1/3 of the Chinese population, and his company was valued at $3 trillion. I mean, that kind of revolution we have yet to see in the Indian rural fintech space, but this space has a huge requirement in terms of credit access to farmers. Then there's food processing, because we are a consumption-led economy. So food processing is very important, and a lot of food goes waste, which can be converted into better outcome for the consumer. And so a lot of these startups are actually focusing on top 20% of the farmer, which, who actually owns more than 50% of land. And because that is the farmer which has a good paying capacity. So on afforestation, I've seen a company which is using drones to drop seeds and do afforestation. And, the example is, of course, Japan, which is had a very successful afforestation program since a long time. Also, there was a startup which is delivering 100% organically grown fruits and vegetables to doorstep within 12 hours. So, it's a very hyper local kind of operation. And then, these are some of the companies, and there are 450 Agritech startups and growing at more than 40%. So very exciting space.
Right. You're right. We've been looking at that as well, and it's always in the news. Gary, over to you for this one. As an investor, as a successful business person yourself, why is Agritech important as a sector to you and your peers? I mean, are you actively looking at it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, Terrence, we have to eat.
Yep.
I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. We're back to basic. We have to eat. And so, I mean, as I said, the population of the world is increasing, and the food supplies. I mean, look what's happened during this pandemic, right? Our food supplies, we had significant challenges. Why? Because one is, restaurants weren't using food, so food got wasted. I mean, we couldn't even get toilet paper, and still can't in California. It happened again, right now. And so we understand that we've got challenges with the food supply. So from the time that it's grown on the farm to the time it gets into the store, into the restaurant, we need to go down through and streamline that process. So is it easy? No. And, from my standpoint, if you look at the technologies that I talked about earlier. So driverless tractors, right? We're involved in a company that does driverless tractors. I mean, this is how you can really revolutionize what happens. Imagine the swarm of these small tractors being able to be allocated at a specific time. Imagine using unsupervised artificial intelligence that actually with sensors throughout the field that'll say this particular field needs this type of potassium, for instance, and it needs to be delivered. And the farmer doesn't even have to go out and deliver it. It's automatically delivered through the farm out to that field. Imagine how that really streamlines the service. I mean, you used to have that kind of real-time data, and using artificial intelligence to analyze that data makes some incredible decisions very quickly. Imagine farm-to-farm communication. Imagine having these tractors out there that would deal with 10 farms and not one, being able to deploy it across multiple farms at any one point in time. Look how much money that could save, almost like a time-sharing service, right? Where you go down through and it's, the farm indicates it needs particular potassium or nitrates and allocates that from a particular distribution center, sent out automatically, right? And the farm's automatically done. Imagine how that saves things. Imagine from, I wrote an article about genomes and gene splitting, but imagine what that does. And we're doing it already with cows, to have cows that are healthier, and more meat, less fat, those kind of things. Imagine at the same time having the capabilities on those farms, a different kind of farming, creating the meat, so 3D printing of meat. So the we're in this incredible time where our world is shifting so quickly into an entire other realm, right? Because of the data, because of technologies are starting to advance exponentially. So, and farming's kind of been on the, I literally remember growing up in Pennsylvania, going down to the farm. I mean, farmers didn't make a lot of money, right? It was hard work. You get up early in the morning, you go to bed late at night, and it's like there was a movie a long time ago called Groundhog Day, and every day it's the same day.
Every day is the same day.
6 o'clock in the morning, time to get up.
Yeah.
The chickens are crowing. I've heard the chickens crowing. So that's where it is. And so and we understand. I mean, we need the right kind of food at the right place at the right time. And with global warming coming, everything's going to shift. I mean, Russia's going to be one of the breadbaskets of the world. And so is Canada, by the way. So we're going to shift. And as we start to shift, the population will taper off. They're saying that the population right now, it's forecasted that today it's 8.1 billion. It'll go to about 13 billion over the next 100 years and taper off in the best case scenario. If it doesn't do that, we got some other challenges because of the problem with non-potable water, right? We don't have the drinking water. As I said this, by the way, 15 years ago, they were going to start selling water by the barrel. It's going to be like oil. People laughed at me. And I said, it's coming. Look, 30 years ago, we weren't selling bottled water. Really. It was not. You would go into a restaurant, you get a tap. I don't know what's like in Singapore, but you would get a glass of ice water and it was normal. Now you buy bottled water. We don't even realize what's happening, right? Because we're going to start to have water wars. And, you think about on a farm, I mean, water is a precious commodity. So a lot of challenges taking place, but a lot of great opportunity too. And as we start to explore the stars and terraforming and hydroponics, by the way, to be able to create those environments that aren't as environmentally sensitive, right? In particular scenarios, we don't have to worry about it. So it's changing very, very quickly. And like I said, I'm back to basics. We got to eat.
I agree with you. And yes, we got to eat. William, over to you as well. Since you're in KL, let's talk about maybe some urban farming that's picking up. With Singapore is picking up as well. And I do hear traces of it coming in Bangkok and in KL. So there's lots of these mini farms coming up as well. Are investors or are they getting investments or the investments do they need? Could you kind of comment on that?
Right. Thanks, Terence. Okay, if you look at urban farming, for the last 2 or 3 years, there's a lot of new entrants in the market providing hydroponics, aquaponics, okay, and sort of stack up vertical farms for household, okay. So there's a few players in Malaysia. At this moment, they are more of still trying to educate the markets of the application of hydroponics, especially. Okay, so and if you look at Singapore, they also encourage that their citizens to plant some sort of vertical farm on their balcony, for example, on the rooftop. Yeah. Okay, but all these will not excite investors because yes, you do as a hobby or as a test and error, it doesn't give you the yield. Okay, because if you are looking at investor always want consistent yield, right? Be it farming or be it in any kind of investment. Okay, so if you look at from investors' perspective, and why I'm also excited and jumped into this business with my partner, okay, is because number one, we want to be scalable. Okay, even at this stage with the 40-footer container, we are not happy. We want to do more. Okay, because what you see behind me is actually half module. If we do in the warehouse or factory that you mentioned just now, okay, we are able to do full module at 8 layers. Okay, if you look at in the US, you have plenty, Bovary, Aero Farms. Okay, if you look at Singapore, Temasek just invested in a joint venture with Bayer, okay, to produce real industrial and commercial grade farms. Okay, this will excite investors. Okay, for the last few weeks, the moment we start telling our friends, our contacts that, hey, come to our farm, taste the first harvest, taste the kale, the lettuce, the Romanian lettuce, or even microgreens that is grown in our farm. Once they taste it, they know the difference. Okay, especially our bok choy. Our bok choy is actually very tasty, very crunchy. Okay, and surprisingly, it has aftertaste. And why is that? Because with the right mix of nutrient, okay, that goes through the system, okay, and with our seeds from Netherlands, we are able to produce the right results. Okay, that translates to yield. Okay, that translates to dollar and cents. Okay, and I mentioned just now, from our original estimation of 5 weeks, we are able to cut 1.5 weeks, okay, of full-grown vegetable. Okay, every saving of 1.5 weeks. Okay, in 5 cycles, you have actually additional 7.5 weeks, which give us an additional 2 cycles. All right, from our original estimates. That means our profit or margins will go up with the same input. Okay, so the actual learning curve is actually not the technology that we use. Technology is there. We use or adopt the best technology, the most advanced. If you look at the LED lights, this is currently considered the most advanced LED light that is available in the market. If you look at the nutrient mix, if you look at the entire setup in here, I think I would say that what is important is actually how we make use of all this technology to produce the best yield. Okay, then we can get investor excited. Okay, it got me excited a few months ago. That's why I quickly grabbed this opportunity when it's offered to me, and from then on, we just keep moving forward.
Great. Thanks for that, William. The numbers do matter, as always. So to all the businesses out there who are actually looking at this show and looking at the topic itself, now we are talking about factory farming, Agritech, and some of the investments that are getting into the space itself. So I think, Tusha, talk to us a little bit about some macro themes that you are seeing in the whole Agritech scenes. I mean, what's getting the attention of all the investors out there? You're on mute, Tusha. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So there is actually so much to do. I mean, we are talking about millions of people subsiding on agriculture, and so there is a lot of workforce involvement, a lot of climate-related sensitivity, and so urban farming is not a big issue out here because in any case we have so much of rural land which is arable, and so the main problems, actually, if you look at worldwide, there has been a lot of subsidies to agriculture. We talk about trillion-dollar subsidies in Europe and US, and this part of the world is more suited for agriculture. But again, we also depend a lot on the government subsidies. So the government has been giving like $25 billion worth of farmer credit cards were issued last year, and $15 billion worth of agriculture infra fund was created. And 40 million farmers were given insurance just in the matter of last 1 year. And around $15 billion were transferred to the bank account of around 100 million farmers in the last 1 year. So all these initiatives are there. But, if you talk specifically about some exciting technology, soil and water sensors, they have come of age, just as solar panels came of age and lithium ion battery came of age. So, IoT powered sensors, soil and water sensors have come. Then weather has been a big issue. It affects a lot of farmers here in India. So weather tracking, that SpaceX and this one, Kuiper and OneWeb, these are the 3 companies which are building low Earth satellites. So a lot of weather tracking information is directly available to the farmer with existing satellite systems. Then we have satellite imaging to know that which crop should be grown at which place. And in terms of easing the operational burden on the farmer for use of latest technology, we call it pervasive automation. It's basically a buzz term. It refers to any technology that reduces operator workload. And then there is RFID technology, which has been around since a long time, and vertical farming, as William was saying. So, these are some of the exciting things which I have been seeing.
Right, great. And also from your end, Gary, I was wondering if you can kind of talk us through some specific instances or investments that you see coming from the VCs on your side of the world. Could you give us some examples of what you've seen and why you think they invested in some of the businesses?
Yeah. So as I said, driverless tractors, right? And
Mm,
having the capability on the farm, because look at what you can do. It's one is so without getting into specific details
mm,
on it, since we're a little bit tied into it. Imagine having the capability to look at it an entirely different way, not from a LiDAR perspective, but an entirely different way of being able to maneuver those tractors in the field. So that particular company got a significant investment because it's an emerging technology and it was able to use a whole lot of different data sources. And artificial intelligence is a quantum leap forward, unsupervised AI. So
mm,
that's one particular company that's quite interesting for us. As I talked about, the gene editing, gene splitting, genomes, those environments are all getting funded from the Valley. And I see a lot of, and the thing is, Terrence, each one of these technologies, what I like, the beauty of it is they can be used in different areas. So that same
mm,
technology they use for the tractor can now be used in a car as a different type of more advanced way of looking at driverless cars, not just LiDAR. So,
mm,
and when we talked about genomes, gene editing, those same technologies can be used for us for diseases, right? So
mm,
it's really interesting. So imagine being able to crop out a disease. You have cancer running, breast cancer running in your family, or prostate cancer running, and being able to clip that out so it totally doesn't exist anymore. So when I talk about transportable models, it's interesting. So I see that um, uh, the vertical farming, RFID technology, Internet of Things, right? The Internet of Things, we talk about smart cities, but think about the fourth industrial revolution and smart farms, right? Having sensors everywhere and to be able to, what's it all on a farm? What's it all about? It's about the data.
mm,
And so having that data and to be able to make sense of that data and act on that data is something farmers couldn't do. So what do I see? I see investments into particular areas of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. I just did a panel. I had the top person from Intel, the general manager of Intel worldwide for Internet of Things. We talk about smart cities, but it's more than just smart cities, right? It's about, smart everything. And so farms having sensors to understand, how much fertilizer needs to be put in. Does this particular area need water? Are there some other conditions that need to be addressed? Those kind of technologies. And again, it's more than just one area. It's what's interesting for me and why I like to invest in those areas in particular is because they're applied to all kinds of different places. And by the way, these technologies are coming from everywhere. It's not one particular region in the world. And the beauty of VCTV, Terrence, is that, we're addressing people from Africa, Australia, Indonesia, everywhere, the US,
mm,
Europe,
yeah.
they're coming from everywhere, which is amazing because if you'd asked me a year ago, and I lived in Russia 14 years, so I know a little bit about that region. But I mean, these technologies are coming from everywhere. It's not
Mm,
one place anymore, which is really interesting. So
mm,
we're being able to mine those. I'm excited about the possibility of the broad application of the technologies. I'm not looking at one particular area in farming. By the way, when you deal, and I've dealt with some, the Purdue's of the world, the Tyson
mm,
Foods of the world, Monsanto's of the world. Personally, have dealt with them on the long range weather forecasting company that I was involved in, startup. So they're not easy to deal with. It takes time because you're dealing with some fairly large companies, right?
mm.
But the opportunities are very exciting.
Right. And I think we definitely agree with that as well. I think incorporating cross industry technologies to the current application, it definitely works and will definitely bring more yield to that matter itself. And just a note, gentlemen of the panel today, the people viewing in are typically business owners, new startups, those looking for your advice and perhaps guidance even from your side. So let's talk directly to them and let's kind of give them something to work on. How would you kind of help some of the business out there who are looking to you for advice? I think let's kind of just go around. William, we'll start with you with this one. How can you help some of the businesses out there who want to kind of speak to you or perhaps talk to you more about the business?
Right. I think my expertise is more on structuring investments and fundraising. Okay. So the reason I'm invited to participate in Agros is also to help them structure the right capital raising mechanism. Okay. Because this is a startup. It's considered a startup, although my partner has been in the industry for, tech industry for a long time. But people still view it as a startup. So I'm here, okay, to make sure that the investments from investors, or to start with, does this investment is justifiable? What's the feasibility, the yield, and then from then on, I help them to structure the financial modeling to ensure that at one point of time, how much funds you need. For example, now to build 90,000 square feet to be on par with Aero Farm in Dubai or in New Jersey, we require 25 million US. Okay, but looking at the scale that we want to push forward, okay, to meet the demand in Malaysia alone, we want to invest up to 300 million US dollars. Okay, so how do we structure this deal? How does investor feel that, oh, I'm giving you 25 million US dollars and what kind of return we are able to get? What percentage of shareholding, equity? So we have two. For example, for Agros, we structure in two form of investment. One is in ordinary share, which is equity partner. Okay, so we offer the up to 10% equity participation. Okay, but for the rest who prefer to have a safe and consistent yield, okay, on their investments, we provide 10% per annum. So we'll every year we'll pay out 10% coupon. Okay, and if we are able to IPO or went on to trade sale, okay, they are able to convert at a 10% per annum. Okay, that means that they have additional 10% coupon or in share value. Okay, so for example, if they are able to IPO, we are able to IPO in the year 5, then if they choose to convert, then they have 1.5 times of their investments in share. Okay, so this is how we currently structure the deal. Okay, but for entrepreneurs who want to venture into agriculture, like what Gary said just now, everyone needs to eat, all right, and everyone needs to be healthy nowadays. Okay, so we have choice, right? If we spend the same amount of dollar, we want to have the best possible value from our food. Okay, in Malaysia, unfortunately, our food quality is probably in the mid-range. Okay, all the good ones go to Singapore. Okay, and some of them go to China directly. Okay, like before COVID, in Malaysia we produce durians. Okay, either you hate it or you love, or you hate them or you love them. Okay, before COVID, Malaysians don't have access to grade A top Musang King. Why? Because the moment they drop from the tree, they are vacuum packed and sent to China. Okay, the demand. Okay, in Malaysia, we can eat it for maybe 15 to 20 US dollars per kg. The same fruit is sold in Hong Kong for 2,000 Hong Kong. In China, it's sold for 1,500 to 2,000 renminbi. So if I'm a businessman, of course I'll pack and send it straight away in the container. Right. So for entrepreneurs, we look at local demand first, because before you export or before you go too excited about global food shortage, try to solve the problem in your local area. Okay, work out the yield, because a lot of produce, more importantly, is whether people want to buy or consume your produce. Okay, we have a lot of wastage. A lot of lower grade produce are actually left to rot. Okay, yeah. So I think the entrepreneurs who want to go into agriculture business, like what Gary and Tusha also shared just now, look out for the best technology for your farm or for your agriculture business that you intend to do.
Great. Thanks for that, William. And at least the people out there know what they're getting into when they kind of speak to us here on VCTV or kind of get
Right.
on as well. Tusha, over to you as well with this one. We want to hear, how does yourself, the company, and maybe some of your peers as well, how do they normally kind of fit in to this whole ecosystem with some of the entrepreneurs that come to you?
So, a lot of agri-tech companies which have been coming to us, some of them sound a little bit too fancy because if you are ignoring the basic aspects of Indian agriculture, which is small farm holdings, lack of purchasing power of the farmer, and stuff like that, then it somehow doesn't make sense to have very costly IoT sensors and very costly farm equipment. And end of the day, it has to be feasible business. It has to make money. So unit economics are very important. But within the agri chain, we are looking at farm to fork companies, food processing companies, companies which can reduce food wastage. Cold storage companies are very important on the supply chain, and also online trading companies. One very important theme which we are looking at is access of credit to the farmer. So what happens is the agriculture land which the farmer is using, he's using it to grow farm produce. And farm produce, these are small land holdings, so they can't really fetch that kind of a money because of the small farm holdings. So if the bank takes that land as collateral, the value of that land is actually the produce which grows on the land. So it is not too much. Giving access of credit to the farmer using fintech is a theme we are looking at very strongly, and there are a lot of companies, very startups who are trying to solve this part of the puzzle. Lending space, credit space, and technology space as a whole in agri-tech looks very exciting, and there are some very exciting companies we have been seeing since the last 6 months.
Great. Thanks for that, Tusha. Gary, I think the same question to you as well. How different can it be, and how do you help some of these companies that come to you? How do you help them accelerate?
So the fundamentals are the same. So what I tell each one of the startups is, make sure that you've done your customer discovery. By that I mean, make sure that people really want to buy what you have, right? So before you over-engineer it, because one of the dilemmas that I see for all over the world is that people have an idea, but they always want to make it perfect. The problem is perfection never comes. It's just like tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, right? And so what we have to do is, they need to go out and test. Does somebody really want to buy their product or service? So keep it simple. Do they want to take money out of their pocket and pay for it? So how do you do that? You go out. What I've done most recently with Eva, and I pivoted 3 times with it, I actually would go out and interview people, and I had a PowerPoint presentation. And my partner's a billionaire. So imagine having a billionaire walking down the street with you, interviewing people in the street in Palo Alto, California. Hey, do you mind sitting down? I'd like 5 minutes of your time. But that's what it's all about. And people say, well, I don't feel comfortable. But if you're founder of a company, that's your job, right? If you want to stay as a founder or executive of a company, that's your job. Your job is to get that information and to relay that information back and see if it's real. Do you need to pivot or not? So that's door number 1. Door number 2 is, I look at it as there's 3 steps. 1 is acceleration, 2 is regional dominance, and then 3 is going global. And each one of them have hurdles, right? So product market fit, does it work? 2 is, I've got regional dominance. It's really great. I believe there's a need around the world. Well, how do I go to each one of them? And the other thing is, now with the pandemic, it's not as easy as it was, because travel's not the same. But at the same time, we've got, VCTV and platforms out there to be able to help us understand going global. So step 3 is, how do I get it out to the market? And that's, each one of them have their own issues. The 3rd step is really, you need the trust. Trust is built up over time when people have either invested in your products or projects and know who you are, right? Do they believe in who you are, and are they willing to give you money and sure that you'll take care of their money, like it's your own, and do the right kind of thing. So that's the third level. Are any of those easy? No. Can you optimize them to make sure that you're more successful? Absolutely. I mean, there's a book by Steve Blank and Bob Dorff called The Startup Owner's Manual. Take a look at that. It gives you some step-by-step instructions, and I know Bob personally and Blank use that. The lean startup approach in this particular situation works. And you can dramatically increase the probability of success, right? One of the things around the world, and we have viewers from everywhere, as I've found, as I said, I lived in Russia 14 years. One of the things that, failure is not a good thing. But when you're pivoting, it doesn't mean you're failing. It's like going down the road and taking the wrong turn. You just make a U-turn and turn around and take the right turn. So making sure that, a lot of people give up too early, right? So if they believe in what they have, believe in their dreams, the thing is you need to figure it out. That's where the successful entrepreneurs, forward-thinking entrepreneurs really have it, hands on better than anybody else. They believe in their dreams. They visualize where they want to go. So it's kind of the soft side of being an entrepreneur. And it's never easy, Terrence. Let me tell you, building a startup is never easy. If somebody says it is, they're lying. I mean, I talked to, Slack, right? So I had a conversation with Stuart probably 2 years ago. And he told me, when they built Slack, it was a gaming company. And they retransitioned it over because they had this internal tool they were using for projects, Slack. And so, he said, and I'll never forget it. And this is before Slack, well, it was 4 years ago, actually. It was before Slack really took off. And he said, I hope those people kept their stocks, that he had to let go of a lot of people in his company. And now they just got sold, right? So he said then, I hope they kept their stock. And he's a nice guy. So the key is you got to pivot sometimes, right? And that's just part of the game. So anyhow, but think globally.
Great. And I think you on the panel as well, you can kind of chime in and help some of this business do that. And for those of you watching us now from wherever you are, again, there is an opportunity for you to participate as well. Come on board, talk to us, talk to some of the investors, talk to the people you see now in front of you as well, because they are the ones with that knowledge, with that bank behind them almost, and also with that opportunity to kind of take your business forward. Whether you're in blockchain or not, I think the priority is definitely to kind of look at you first. So we have a few minutes left, actually just 2 minutes left on the show. I'm just going to go around and have you kind of speak directly to the audience itself. Tell them any last words or any plugs that you want to fit in. William, let's start with you.
Well, everyone, if you plan to start an agriculture business, please do so, because it feeds the world, it feeds people, okay, and also you're contributing to social good.
Thank you, William, and that's definitely a good point as well. Tusha, over to you.
So, any Agritech company wanting to make a mark, be it on the impact side or on non-impact, fully profitable, both the streams, most welcome. Take money from us, $5 million, $10 million, $15 million. And so what I'm trying to just say is that mostly, I welcome Agritech. It's a good space to be in, just like education and healthcare. And it does good for a lot of people, and one can be a part of a movement along with earning money. So most welcome to all startups.
Great. Gary, help us sum it up. Talk to the people.
So thanks, Terrence. So this is the greatest opportunity that we've ever had. This is like the beginning of the 20th century, and AI is the new electricity. I encourage each and every one of the companies out there to move forward, to believe in your dreams, to take that step, to not look back. I remember one time I had the chance of meeting with the right-hand man, Rupert Murdoch, one of the wealthiest guys on the planet. And he said that, what are the keys to success? So we're having dinner in California with the brother of the founder of Google, Carl Page. And I said, give me one thing. And he said, amnesia. And I said, what do you mean amnesia? He said, they never talk about the past. He said, I've interviewed 3,000 top entrepreneurs in the world. They never talk about the past. So believe in your dream, go forward and make your own dent in the universe. And it is possible, right? It's never easy, but it is possible. If you visualize, if you believe in your dreams, and keep moving up positively. So those are the soft sides of it. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, at GSD Venture Studios. Get Shit Done Venture Studios, because that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for summing it up for us as well. Gentlemen on the panel, again, I appreciate your advice and insights on the show today. Do come back on to the next shows. And for those watching us from wherever you are, again, this is VCTV. My name is Terrence. Thank you for joining us, and come back the next time around. Bye-bye, everybody.